Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, hard by I-77, Canton, Ohio. Nice night. Cloudy skies, temperature 78 degrees. 23,000 will look on. Dan Quinn begins his 5th season as the Falcons head coach. 36-28 his mark. 2 playoff appearances, including the trip to the Super Bowl, losing to New England. And he will also call the defensive signals this season. He'll be the defensive coordinator as well. Giorgio Tavecchio, who has been around most recently with Oakland, is the new kicker. Matt Bryant, longtime kicker for the Falcons, unsigned at the moment by anybody. And off we go. The 100th season begins, and the preseason opener features Brendan Langley running the kick back out to the 26-yard line. So Denver's starting quarterback tonight is going to be Kevin Hogan. He too has been around. Last year he was with Washington in preseason. Then the Broncos signed him, put him on the practice squad. He was active for a number of games later in the year, but did not play behind Case Keenum. At Stanford, as you look at Joe Flacco, at least he's in uniform partially anyway tonight. No shoulder pads. He's not going to play. But we're going to see a lot of Drew Lock. So Hogan with Kalfani Mohammed, the running back, swinging to the outside. And around the corner he goes for a short pickup. So up front, the Denver Broncos felt they really needed to do a lot of work up front there. Number 66 is Dalton Reisner, the left guard. They picked him in the 2nd round. Out of Kansas State, a Colorado kid. Grew up as a Broncos fan, about an hour and a half drive from Denver. 2nd down and 7 from the 29-yard line. Off play action, Hogan just throws it into the ground and incomplete. Hogan, a stellar career at Stanford, broke a lot of records there, and actually was recruited, of all things, by Vic Fangio when Fangio was at Stanford for 1 year under Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, and Fangio actually knew he was leaving to go to San Francisco to coach with Harbaugh, and yet he was in charge of the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, and Hogan was one of the guys on his list, and he got him.
3rd and 7. Of course, we talk about Stanford quarterbacks. Their president and GM was a pretty good one. John Elway, we'll talk to him in the booth later tonight. And the pass is dropped as it over the middle, and that's Juwan Winfrey, a 6th round draft choice out of the University of Colorado, who can't hold it in, and it's 4th down.
Well, here's the one everybody's interested in. Dalton Reisner, the left guard, typically he would be on the right side, but pretty solid pass protector. One of the better pass protectors in all of college football, strong against the run as well. They have really high hopes for him.
Marcus Green drops back deep to receive. Colby Waldman is the Denver punter. Punting tonight at sea level. Mile High will be a different story. Good coverage by the special teams group, and they back him up to the 21-yard line, and that's where the Atlanta Falcons will take over. Matt Ryan won't play tonight. Matt Schaub will. Matt Schaub is the oldest backup quarterback in the National Football League. He'll be in for a couple of series, and we'll see a lot of Kurt Benkert out of the University of Virginia. Schaub was actually drafted by Atlanta back in 2004. So he's in his 16th season. He was part of that fantastic class, of course, that included Roethlisberger, Manning, Eli, and Phillip Rivers. Ito Smith is the running back from the 22-yard line. Short drop, and then the pass is knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Adam Gotsis, who will be a starter during the regular season and gets the start here tonight. They'll play some of the first-team guys for a couple of series. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
It almost feels unfair when one of these starters ends up in the game early against some of these young offensive linemen, but watch Gotsis just drive his man right back into the quarterback, get his hand up. He's probably looking over at the sideline right now going, you guys seen enough?
Gotsis, number 2 pick back in 16 out of Georgia Tech. 2nd down and 10 from the 22-yard line. And through the middle, going nowhere, is Ito Smith, and bursting through is Sua Cravens, the safety, to knock him down behind the line of scrimmage for a loss. It'll be 3rd and 12.
Yeah, and Sua Craven's pretty interesting story. A guy that was drafted high, but all of a sudden he decided that he was going to retire in his second year, came back out unretired, a little bit maybe related to some concussions that he had, but he is a first-class athlete, and he is capable of making plays in Vic Fangio's defense.
Started that career with the Washington Redskins, 3rd down and 12 from the 20-yard line. 4-man rush. Flag is thrown, our first of the season. Won't be the last either, and the pass is incomplete.
Looked like a little bit of a quick start over here on this side.
Offside, number 46, defense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
And Walt Anderson in his 24th year.
Jeff Holland trying to make an early impression, getting a jump around the corner, and for Vic Fangio not liking that. It's so interesting, isn't it, Al, to see Fangio down on the sideline. I coached a little bit high school football. It's amazing when you get used to this vantage point and looking down on the players. Sometimes looking at it from the field is completely different. He's only called defenses from the field one time in his career.
32 seasons calling them from upstairs. 3rd and 7. Schaub fires, and that pass is incomplete. Intended for Devin Gray, and there is another flag down.
Holding number 64, offense. That penalty is declined. It's 4th down.
It's on the left guard. That's on Sean Harlow.
So already you see what you see in every one of these early preseason games. The offenses are not ready for everything, right? Obviously, they're early in camp. They've got a lot of young guys in there. So what do the defensive coordinators do? Here come the blitzes. They're just going to send them and see if this made-up offensive line can figure out what's going on.
Offense is not ready for prime time, but they will be in 5 weeks from tonight when the season starts in Chicago against Green Bay. Fielded at the 31. This is Kelvin McKnight. And McKnight has some room and takes the ball out to the midfield stripe. Each team 3 and out early first quarter in Canton. And the Sunday Night Football special on Thursday night being brought to you by Progressive. Break away and score big with great savings. Visit progressive.com. And by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Class of 19's busts unveiled Saturday night in a ceremony here at the stadium. That was the process they went through to have them created, and they will join those fellas in quite a display. Gil Brandt will be going in. I used to despise the word bust, but today it's sounding pretty good. Perfect from a guy who was a personnel man and was responsible for so many drafts.
You want to know busts.
Yeah, he didn't have very many. He had a lot of first rounders. Curtis Martin is here. Longtime running back with Jets and Patriots. Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee a couple of years back. Denver starting from the 49-yard line. Hogan rolling out, keeps his eyes downfield. Another drop. That's 2 drops now. That time it's Noah Fant, who is their #1 draft choice, picked 20th overall, the rookie from Iowa.
So this is what this offense is going to be. A lot of different bootlegs and such. So the tight end is going to have to be able to make these kinds of plays. Yeah, they're going to grab you. They're going to hold you as you come across. But obviously the nerves kicking in here a little bit for Noah Fant, who really early in his career in college was not all that impressive. Kind of a basketball player, but really grew into being a pretty good blocker, and they're excited about that, and runs a 4.5, so a real weapon.
Hogan 0 for 3, but there have been 2 drops on the ground again. A little space there for Muhammad to pick up about 5. Boy, at Iowa, they ran an offense, 2 tight ends. Fant was one of them. And the other guy was T.J. Hawkinson, and he was picked 8th overall by Detroit.
Yeah, and Hawkinson was the one really known for his blocking. He was a great blocker. The fans in Detroit are going to love watching him. And there's Dad in the stands, I do believe.
Willie Fant, among the 23,000 or so here at Tom Benson Stadium. 3rd down, 5 from the 45-yard line. Good protection for Hogan this time. That pass is complete, and that should be the game's first down. Fant makes the catch. Ishmael with the tackle. That moves the chains 1st down.
Well, and here's what happens when you have a 4-5 guy playing tight end. Come out, you turn it up the field slightly, and now you have a safety on you. And so when you break out, you see the kind of separation that there is. If you have a guy who runs 4.7, 4.8, that safety tends to play a little tighter. You put that kind of speed at the tight end position, get some easy throws.
From the 39-yard line. Hogan fires over the middle, throws a strike here to the 25-yard line. Another first down. Catch made by Fred Brown, first-year guy out of Mississippi State.
Yeah, Fred Brown cut by the Rams last year. That's a pretty tough team to make. So you could see, sometimes you see guys that are just better in games. You know what I mean, Al? It's like they can go through all the practices you want and not make an impression. Then they come out here and they're going to impress a guy like Rich Scangarello,
right,
who's the new offensive coordinator.
Came from San Francisco, before that at Atlanta with Kyle Shanahan. So he calls the plays from upstairs. And a nice run here, a pickup of about 7 yards by Devontae Jackson, who is a rookie, undrafted free agent from West Georgia. Gain of 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
Yeah, had over 4,000 yards at West Georgia, but there's Vic Fangio. You got to wonder how he's feeling down there, not just physically, but getting his first chance ever to be a head coach. It's remarkable. He has been a great, not good, great coach in the NFL throughout the course of his career. Many different defenses he's put together, and this is his first shot.
Last year in Chicago, where they led the league in points allowed, Langley makes the catch. Of course, when you lead the league defensively in points allowed, that means you're number 1. That means it's the fewest points.
That's it.
So nice looking drive here, engineered by Hogan, as the ball comes down to the 14-yard line. First down.
There's Garrett Bowles on the outside. If this team is going to make a jump this year, it's going to be at least in part because Garrett Bowles really improved. Mike Munchak came over from the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the great players and one of the great offensive line coaches in this game.
2001 inductee. First and goal. The ball spotted at the 10-yard line, and a couple of yard pickup here by Devontae Jackson. Interesting thing with Munchak, because he was one of the guys who was interviewed by John Elway for the head coaching job. They had Vance Joseph there for 2 years, 11 and 21, fired him. And then it got down to Munchak or Fangio, and Fangio hires Munchak as his offensive line coach.
Yeah, they grew up about 2 miles apart, but really there's the bust in there. But really, the tiebreaker had nothing to do with football. His daughter and granddaughter live in Denver, and so he decided as a family to make the move.
Second goal, and that is batted at the line of scrimmage. That is Durant Miles coming in, a rookie out of Boise State, a free agent, knocking it down. It's going to be 3rd down and goal.
You can just feel the Shanahan-ness of this offense. You know, we talk about Mike Shanahan. We talk about Kyle Shanahan, who ended up training Rich Scangarello. And so everything is off their run game. They want everything to be able, and John Elway is going to love this because he ran this system as well. He's going to love the idea that the running game is going to be established out there, and every single pass that you see will be off of something in the running game. That's what makes it so tough to defend this offense.
There was a holding call against Atlanta, thus a first down at the 3-yard line. A little under 9 minutes to play in the quarter, and a big hole and a touchdown. Kalfani Mohammed, first-year back, played his college ball at the University of California. They go 51 yards in 8 plays in a little over 4 minutes for the first touchdown of the game.
Let's give a little credit to one of the old guys. What do you say? Don Barclay used to play for the Green Bay Packers. Going to come right down here on this inside zone play. Just move out the nose tackle, and that was pretty easy.
So now McManus comes in for the extra point. Brandon McManus's kick is good with 8:50 left in the opening quarter. The Denver Broncos drawing first blood, leading 7-0 in the Hall of Fame game in Canton. 99 years ago in Canton, Ohio, George Halas was one of the founding members of the NFL. 5 weeks from tonight, the Chicago Bears host the Green Bay Packers as the NFL's 100th season kicks off. Join us 7:30 Eastern. NFL Kickoff Show presented by EA Sports. Madden NFL 20 live from Grant Park, and then to Soldier Field we go that night to open up the season. Packers-Bears, and what a game that was on the opening Sunday night last year. The game where Aaron Rodgers went out, looked like for the season, wasn't even out for, well, through halftime, just about.
And I have a feeling about the Packers this year. People forgot that Aaron Rodgers played so hurt for so much of last year.
2-yard line. Marcus Green takes the McManus kick.
Whoa.
And through the middle he goes. Hard hit made up at the 31-yard line. Take a look at Chris Lindstrom. He's a rookie out of Boston College. 14th overall pick. And Atlanta made its priority rebuilding that offensive line in the draft. So all eyes on him. Terrific guard in college. Dad played at Boston College as well, and he's in there right now with Kenyon Barner at running back. And a nice tackle made behind the line of scrimmage there by Malik Reed, the outside linebacker, for no gain.
All right, well, let's take a look at Chris Lindstrom here and see how he does inside. He is a big, powerful guy. He was a no-doubter. Gets the first guy on the ground, gets the second guy on the ground. That's not a bad way to start. His papa would be proud of him. Papa was a good one, too. I was one of my teammates in Cincinnati.
Second down and 10 from the 30-yard line. Out of the gun this time. Flips it to the outside, and again a good defensive play made there. That is Horace Richardson making the tackle behind the line of scrimmage after a loss of 3. Third down and 13.
I think Richardson reacted up to this one. He's played on 4 different teams and yet to stick. He hasn't played in an NFL game yet. It's like he's trying to change that. It's a heck of a play.
4 teams, 2 years. Played his college ball at Southern Methodist. 3rd and 13. Up to the outside, high throw and hold in. No, they say no. And looking around is Justin Hardy, who thought he caught it, but line judge right there to say you did not, and it's 4th down.
And Devontae Bosby said, thank you very much. You want to try and complete a pass up around 5 yards short of the first down marker. Pretty good competition at the cornerback position coming out this year. Bradley Roby gone, Bosby and Isaac Yadam going head-to-head out there on the outside.
Matt Bushner in for his second punt. Brendan Langley sets up at his own 25-yard line. Short kick coming up to field it, and he lost it at the 40-yard line. So Langley ran a long way, ran almost 15 yards straight ahead to make the catch, and then muffed it. And let's see who comes up with the football.
Ruling on the field, the kick was touched by the receiving team, recovered by a member of the kicking team. First down, Atlanta.
Well, recovered by the kicking team, it's Denver.
Brandon Langley's a guy who played defensive back and got moved to wide receiver. He ran a long way to get this one. Bill Parcells would have been proud of the effort because he did not want to see balls hit the ground because typically they bounce 20 yards past that. But you need to help yourself. If you can't get there, make the poison call, get away from it. Now Atlanta has a little life.
John Kaminsky, who played his high school ball down the road in Barberton, Ohio, is the man who recovered it. Nice play fake, a ton of time here for Schaub. Checks it down to the outside. Ito Smith trying to win the backup running back job. Devontae Freeman will be their opening day starter. We talked about Lindstrom. They drafted Caleb McGarry also in the first round. Would have played tonight, but he underwent a cardiac procedure yesterday. Michelle will have more on that later, but they went for 2 offensive linemen in the first round. One of the reasons was that Matt Ryan got sacked 42 times last season.
And they signed 4 offensive linemen in free agency. So they're serious about changing their offensive line.
Second down and 4 at the 34-yard line. Ito Smith. First down, and we go to Michelle.
Yeah, well, I spoke with Falcons GM Thomas Dimitroff regarding the health of rookie offensive tackle Caleb McGarry. As you said, their other first-round pick. He did not make the trip. He has a history of an irregular heartbeat. He wasn't feeling well at Tuesday's practice. On Wednesday, he underwent a cardiac ablation, a surgical procedure to restore a normal heartbeat. Dimitroff told me McGarry is out of the hospital, doing well, but they won't have a timetable for his return until tomorrow when they visit with his cardiologist. Dimitroff reiterated the Falcons knew about McGarry's medical history, including the fact he had 2 similar procedures during his playing career, and they're very confident in his timely return.
Well, they listed as a minor procedure, but we wish him the very best, and hopefully he's back very quickly as Kenyon Barner picks up a yard. Second down.
We had a chance to visit with him a couple of days ago, and what a nice young man. You know, he was funny and entertaining, just loved the game of football, and we certainly hope he's back very, very soon indeed.
Funny thing about that offensive line is you look at Von Miller, he won't see any action tonight. Great linebacker, 98 career sacks, and an NBC commentator, the Kentucky Derby. Did a nice job this year, too.
Oh, he was good. Yeah, we got a Tom Brady interview. That was impressive.
Second and 9 from the 29-yard line. And a whistle before the snap. Walt Coleman will explain.
Full start, number 75, offense, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
John Wetzel. Chris, I mentioned odd that they would pick 2 offensive linemen. I mean, we talked about all the times Ryan was sacked. They have 2 Pro Bowlers up front. The center, Alex Mack. The tackle, Jake Matthews. So they've got 2 really nice pieces to begin with.
You know, one of the things that happened to them a season ago, they had a lot of trouble picking up 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s. So they wanted to get a little bigger. This Shanahan system, we're seeing Shanahan systems on both teams out here tonight. But usually smaller offensive line, I think they wanted to get a little bigger.
2nd and 14, and the pass to the outside intended for Barner is incomplete. So Matt Ryan, he had a great season, 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, threw for almost 5,000 yards, yet 2nd most sacks, hit the 3rd most times, hurried a lot, and 221 times sacked, hit, or hurried over a course of 16 games. So you're talking about 12 to 13 times per game when he was under duress.
Yeah, and still came up with 35 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Yeah, offense was not the problem in Atlanta last year. A little dump off here, but that's going to go nowhere as Barner is taken down. So they lost ground after picking up that muffed fumble, and it's 4th down right now.
Yeah, and this is an offense, Al, that's really built around Matt Ryan. I mean, they brought in other coaches here. Dirk Cutter, now the offensive coordinator. Mike Malarkey's in here, a former head coach. Raheem Morris, a former head coach on the offensive side. But this offense is Matt Ryan's. Even all the verbiage is what he knows. The coaches had to learn what he knew about this offense, and they built around him.
So Nick Williams back to receive the kick. Bosher to put it in the air for the 3rd time in the quarter. Short kick. Fielded at the 9-yard line. Fair caught there. And we'll see Denver with the ball, and Michelle talks to Champ Bailey when we come back to camp.
What people don't realize is you spend very little time playing games. Very little. Most of your time is spent in the locker room, talking about family, talking about maybe what you want to do on the field, talking about the guys next to you or the guys on the offense, and, you know, hanging out, kind of raising each other and growing together. That's really what the game is all about.
Champ Bailey, Michelle will visit with him in a moment as we come back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Kevin Hogan's going to stay in for at least another series. And he starts with a little toss to David Williams, no gain. And we go to Michelle.
As you said, here with Champ Bailey. And Champ, you grew up and were a high school star in Georgia. You played at Georgia, and you found out you were going to be a Hall of Famer in Georgia at the Super Bowl in Atlanta. Right. How much did being there and getting that notice there affect the moment?
It was everything, because, I mean, you're in dog country once you cross the border in Georgia. So when you're in dog country, you got all your fans telling you congratulations, being able to celebrate that moment with everybody, my family. I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Well, let's go back to your days in Folkston, Georgia. Take a look at this young Champ Bailey, number 11 there. What were the football dreams of that little guy at that time?
I definitely dreamed about being here that day. Look, I'm not ashamed to say I had big dreams. And
you had a dream about being right here at the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. I mean, standing here getting that gold jacket is something I dreamed about. Now, I did understand there was a process that went along with that, and that's what it took. Just dealing with the process, taking the adversity, turn it into positive. I mean, just keep grinding.
Oh, you did. And, you know, the Hall of Fame class dominated by defensive backs. And even though Denver's had some really good players on defense, you're the first longtime Bronco to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. How do you put that in perspective?
You know, it's funny because I didn't know that at the time I got inducted, and then people kept saying it. I'm like, there's no way. And then I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, I am. You know, and I never anticipated it, but it's a shame that guys like Randy Gradishar and Louis Wright, they're not in the Hall of Fame. Steve Atwater, I mean, come on. I mean, these guys should be in the Hall of Fame. Longtime Broncos, great players. I hope they join me soon.
Well, we are glad that you are here, and congratulations, Champ.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Champ Bailey.
How about that neck?
Yeah.
Huh? Was he middle linebacker back then?
No stranger to the Pro Bowl, and that's dropped again. And that's Marcus Green at the 28-yard line. 4 other corners who made the Hall of Fame, first year of eligibility. There they are. What a group that is. Kevin Green, inductee, Hall of Fame, a few years back. Great linebacker.
Yeah,
2016 he went in.
They just recognized some of the military people here in the stadium, and that was what that enthusiastic clap was all about.
Kurt Benkert comes in. He's going to try to win the backup job. We saw Schaub earlier. And Benkert with a chance now to show what he can do. Played his college ball at Virginia and broke a lot of Matt Schaub's record while he was there. Hands the ball off. This is Ito Smith straight ahead to the 33-yard line. So Benkert started his college career at East Carolina. Redshirted, then had an injury ACL. He was going to be the starter. The coaching staff got fired, so he transferred to Virginia. You can see the numbers that he put up there: 25 TDs, 9 picks, and over 3,200 yards. And Dirk Cutter is the offensive coordinator. He had been in Atlanta a few years back, went to Tampa Bay as the head coach, and now on the staff, all new coordinators in Atlanta, as the catch is made here by Jaden Graham for a first down.
You know, it's so interesting. Once again, the Shanahan system, the bootlegs, you're going to see a bunch of it out here tonight. That's almost the #1 play that they have in this offense. But it really is interesting what Atlanta does with a lot of players. They call it Plan B around here, and Benkert's one of those guys that they keep them on the roster or keep them on the practice squad for a year, spend a ton of time working on their weaknesses. Matt Ryan doesn't have many weaknesses, but they spend a lot of time with him just in recognizing defenses, getting the ball out of his hand quickly, reading it, and not doing that.
Down he goes at the 40-yard line. Malik Reed came around the corner to knock him to the turf on what might be the final play of the first quarter as it ticks down to 16 seconds.
Coming around Logan Paulson here on the outside. Nice pass rush move, maybe no surprise whatsoever. 22 college sacks when he was there. Showed a little speed and quickness getting around the edge.
And that will take us to the second quarter. End of one, 7-0 Denver. More from the Pro Football Hall of Fame right after these messages. Hall of Fame career there, 2-time Super Bowl champ. 15 future Hall of Famers acquired by the Cowboys during his tenure, 9 drafted, and he pioneered computer analysis. He was
Yeah, and it wasn't a Microsoft Surface either. This
No.
thing was about 400 pounds worth of computer.
He was way ahead of PFF in his time. First play of the second quarter is incomplete. The pass intended for Gray. And we will go down to Michelle.
Yes, with Gilbrand, you had such a gift for identifying talent and drafting players. What made you so good at that?
Well, Michelle, let me say this to you. It's really easy to pick out good players, but it's hard to pick out players that are drafted lower in the draft or in the second or third round or fourth round, where we had so much success thanks to the computer when we drafted free agents, 10th round choices, you know, people that nobody really heard of from Elizabeth City Teachers College. So it was a great situation because Coach Landry had a way of knowing who was going to be a good player 2 or 3 years down the road.
Well, you are credited for introducing all that computer technology to the game, and the Cowboys were really on the cutting edge. How did that happen?
Well, let me say this, Michelle. In 1961, we started with a computer. And the reason we did is because Tex Tram was at one of the rival networks and was in charge of its sports programming and put on the Winter Olympics at Squaw Valley. And one of the biggest things that they used there was IBM introduced a tracking device. And so we thought if they could do it, why can't us? And so we went to IBM, and they thought so much of us, they sent us to one of their subsidiaries and introduced us to a fellow named Salam Qureshi, who had no idea whether a football was pumped or stuffed, but he was really good figuring out mathematical equations. And you know, they talk about analytics now. We had the same thing back in the 60s, although we called them probabilities.
Okay, probabilities. Did you ever not do what the probabilities told you to do? Did you deviate from the answers the computer gave you?
Yeah, we did one time, only one time, and that's with Joe Montana. Joe Montana was the guy we were supposed to take in the 4th round, and Coach Landry said, you know, I've got 3 veteran quarterbacks now. We don't carry 4 in the National Football League. So he said, I think maybe, just maybe, we should skip. And we skipped and got a kid named Doug Cosby, who went on to be 4 Pro Bowls, but not anywhere near like Joe Montana.
Oh, well, not everyone can have a bat 1,000. Now, Jerry Jones was the man who fired you from the Cowboys, and yet you picked him to present you at the Hall of Fame. How come?
Well, I have a great allegiance to our players, and I felt that if I asked Roger Staubach to do it, Randy White's unhappy. If I asked Jethro Rayfield Wright to do it, Mel Renfro's unhappy. So I thought that was probably the path of least resistance.
Well, that works. Hey, Gil, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michelle.
Congratulations.
One-of-a-kind guy, Gil Brandt, still does a show on Sirius Radio. Meanwhile, Tavecchio comes in as the drive bogs down, and a kick is no good from 54 yards out. So the drive stymies, come up empty. It's still 7-0. Broncos searching mile high and low for a quarterback. Of course, they had Peyton Manning. How'd that work out? 45-12 with a Super Bowl win and another appearance. But since then, Osweiler, Simeon, Lynch, and Keenum all gone now. And Flacco comes in with Drew Lock. So there he is, searching for the answer. John Elway took over back in 2011 as the president of football operations and the GM. And now he went into the draft looking for Drew Lock and got him in the 2nd round. A lot of people thought he'd be picked before then. 42nd overall out of Missouri.
Looks pretty calm, doesn't he?
Very.
Smile out there, and I think you're going to enjoy watching him play. He's an exciting guy. I would say if he has an issue, it's more on accuracy with the shorter throws, but he's a tremendous deep ball thrower. Joe Flacco is pretty good at that too. So we'll see now running this offense. He's never really had to call a play in the huddle. He's never really had to do the cadence at the line of scrimmage. Pretty simplified in college for him.
Hands off to David Williams. Well, Fangio described him. He said he's a pitcher with a great arm, but he has to learn how to pitch.
Yeah, and I think that's right. He played at Missouri. Of course, in the SEC. And Missouri's not always the best team, so his offensive line couldn't always hold up. His receivers weren't going to win every battle against some of those great athletes, but his dad, his grandpa, both played at Missouri. He was loyal, he stayed home, and he was a 4-year starter, so he has a lot of experience.
2nd down and 7 now from the 44-yard line. And his first pass, a little wobbly, and it's incomplete. Good double coverage there, intended for Noah Fant, their first-round draft choice. It'll be 3rd down and 7.
Let's take a look at this release. He likes that pattern. They hit that a lot. And he is a pretty classic, over-the-top kind of passer, and I would call that training camp legs on the part of Noah Fant. I played in this game. I played 4 plays, broke my nose, had a lot of fun out there. But when you have a guy at tight end that runs a 4.5, that's about where you think that ball should have been thrown. Just couldn't quite catch up to it.
Out of the gun now. Blitz coming. Pass is behind the intended receiver. Flag is thrown. Jordan Miller breaking it up.
Holding number 33, offense. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
That's Walt Anderson. I think I called him Walt Coleman before. So it's training camp for us too.
Everybody, yeah.
For Walt Coleman's looking in. We'll see you sooner than later, Walt.
Couldn't tell. I don't think that ball got tipped, did it? It was way behind. It was like 5 yards behind. It almost looked like it should have been tipped. But that's what I was talking about. You know, usually much more accurate on the deep balls than he was on the short ones. He has plenty of arm, but it's the pitching you talked about. It's pitching.
By the way, we'll see Coleman, but not on the field. Walt is retired. When I say we see him, show up at a game somewhere.
Yeah,
of course. Fair catch called for at the 12-yard line by Marcus Green. And Atlanta takes over there. Denver leading 7-0.
It didn't take discipline to stay out after practice. I wasn't working hard. I did it because I loved it. I wanted to do that. I loved catching footballs. I still dream about catching footballs to this day. I love that sound of the ball hitting my hands. Like, you really have to fall in love with what you're doing, and then you won't have to use hard work.
Tony Gonzalez, visit with him in a moment. Most receptions, receiving yards, tight end in history 14 times to the Pro Bowl. Tied for the most in NFL history. Spectacular career. A dozen years in Kansas City, and then wrapped it up with 5 in Atlanta. Falcons now from the 12 begin this drive. Short drop pass caught. Gain of 9. Caught by Christian Blake, and we go to Michelle.
Yes, with Tony Gonzalez, the 9th modern era tight end to be inducted, but the first one to be elected on the first ballot. So what does that distinction mean to you?
That sounds pretty cool to me. I'll tell you what, because all those tight ends that are in the Hall of Fame already, I look up to those guys. Those guys were amazing. It's kind of hard to believe that they weren't able to be first picks or whatever for the Hall of Fame, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. My family's excited. This is a dream come true.
Well, it's nice to have a dream come true when you endured a lot of postseason heartbreak before you got your first and only win against the Seahawks. So what is your lasting memory of your NFL career going to be?
Thank you for bringing that up for the only playoff game. I mean, that kind of hurts, but at least I got one, right? It only took 16 years. What was your question?
Just your lasting memory of your career in the NFL.
You know what? The relationships that we all go through. Anybody you ask who's played in the NFL, when you look back, of course you remember the games, but it's really about the relationships. It's about the coaches you got to play for. It's about the road trips on the bus, sitting in the locker room. That's the stuff when I look back now that I miss. Trust me, I don't miss going over the middle and getting hit, but I do miss hanging out with the guys just before the game. I saw Matt Ryan, got to see Julio. That's where I got kind of emotional as I was walking down there looking at that Falcon uniform. Obviously, I'm still a Chief too as well, but it brings back all those memories that are very special to me.
Speaking of Matt Ryan, I talked to him and he said you have an uncanny ability to track and catch the football with like 3 defenders hanging on you and not let it drop. What do you think was your strength?
a lot of visualization. You know, when you do something for as long as I was able to do it, I got Matt on the back end, so I kind of had the tricks of the trade at that point to get away with not being as fast or as strong anymore, but I can go up and catch the ball. And one thing I told Matt when the first day I met him when they traded me to the Falcons, I said, look, just get it in my area and let me go up there and do my thing. And we made some good music together. I had a hell of a time playing with Matt. He's one of the best.
Yeah, he said it took him a minute to really trust that was going to happen. But, you know, some people might find it hard to believe that a Pro Football Hall of Famer was once bullied. But you have talked about that. You've talked about how you weren't always the best kid on the team. What's your message to kids out there who are trying to find their place, trying to find their way?
Well, you know, one thing that I try to teach my kids, and I got 4 of them, 2 boys. My oldest boy plays football in high school right now. I tell them it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, and things take time. It's like a flower. You can't force the flower open. And one thing that really triggered for me very early on was you have to really love this game. You have to really love it, because then there's no need for hard work. You know, the need for discipline disappears when you actually are in love with this game. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I got by on athleticism for a long time, but once that love kicked in for me, I started going before practice and staying after practice. And that's when my career really, really took off. And this is a game I love. It's brought me here, standing here with you right now. It's given me a lot of peace and joy in my life, and my family as well. So this is something I'm going to talk about at the induction night too as well, because it's important. I do believe a lot of kids out there have to hear that. Love the game, and it'll take care of itself.
Tony, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Alan, Chris, as a senior in high school, Gonzalez was named the Orange County High School Athlete of the Year, but he had to share the honor with a golfer, some guy named Tiger Woods.
Yeah, what happened to that guy? You know,
wow.
One of the reasons Tony won it, too, he was a great basketball player as well as football. 3rd and 4, and that pass thrown into the bench. So it's 4th down.
Here's what I remember about Tony Gonzalez. A game back in 2013 when he was killing the Patriots. Had his biggest night, 12 for 149. So what did Bill Belichick do? Into the game, last 2 plays for the Falcons, 2 linebackers on him. Never let him off the line of scrimmage. Anybody else beats me, okay, I can live with it. Belichick was not going to let Tony Gonzalez beat him that night.
As usual, Bill pretty good at taking your best player out of the game. And the punt is down by Kaminsky at the 23. Other tight ends in the Hall of Fame. There is that group of 8. Well, we talked about the Bronco quarterback situation and the fact that Case Keenum was sent away. He's with Washington now. Bring in Joe Flacco, but it's about Drew Lock in the future. And you talked about it before, Chris, the fact that he's not used to calling an offense the way this offense will be run by Scangarello in Denver.
Yeah, and so he would simulate it. He would call the play into his telephone and let it play back like he was hearing it in his headset. And then all of a sudden he would go over to the mirror and try and recite it verbatim and then draw the play out. So he was rehearsing what he had to do come game night. It's pretty clever, really.
After getting his lines down, Jackson to the 30-yard line, gain of about 6.
Just to give you a little perspective on what he did in college, they would signal it all in. Over here you'll see all these guys signaling, so they don't know which one's the live signaler. And then they would come up and he'd get to the line of scrimmage and he didn't even have to call the snap count. He would just clap his hands, and that meant hike or 1 or 2 claps or whatever. So just some of the most basic things in the world as far as quarterback play goes at the NFL level, he's still learning here in training camp.
2nd and 4 from the 30-yard line. Lock deep downfield, showing off that arm, but Muhammad can't get there. Pass a little overthrown. That's going to make it 3rd down and 4.
Now Fani Muhammad wide open, a speedster on the outside, and good job of Locke finding him. But once again, and if I had to give a little advice, which I obviously would be doing if you overthrew me, I would say put a little air under the thing. Just let the thing drop in a little bit more. The safety's not going to get there. Took a little shot. Quarterbacks don't do that in training camp. They don't get hit, so it takes a little getting used to, too.
It was Justin Zimmer who burst through. 3rd and 4. Locke's going to run and slides to a halt. Then a flag is thrown because a late hit comes in at the end. Jermaine Grace was there, and you saw the flag immediately thrown. One on the far side as well. There's one thrown right where the play ended, and the other one is near the other sideline at the 46-yard line.
It was kind of interesting.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Holding number 28 defense, that penalty is declined. After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 53 defense, hitting the quarterback who was already on the ground. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Because Locke, watch him, he's going to almost fake like he's going to slide, and then he didn't slide. And then at that point, he's not even really on the ground when Jermaine Grace made that hit. If that's Tom Brady, yeah, okay, I'm all for it. But I don't know, whatever. It's the first game for everybody.
Moves the ball into Atlanta territory at the 49-yard line. And on first down, bootleg rolling to his left, wide open, making the catch, picking up the first down. Gain of 12 for Nick Williams, a 6-year man out of University of Connecticut.
So, Terry, what'd you think on that one?
Terry McCauley.
Yeah.
Chris, I don't think there's much of a foul there, to be honest with you. I know it's early in the season. You want to protect quarterbacks. He slides late, and he just puts his shoulder right into the midsection without a lot of force. I think that's one they'd rather not have called.
I just wanted to show off your new camera. So
exactly. Terry's got.
You're about 3 time zones away from me down there, though.
I am.
And he spent all last year in the makeup chair before we finally got him on in the playoffs. From the 37-yard line on first down, Devontae Jackson going nowhere. We're going to hear from Terry a lot this season because, of course, you all have heard about the fact he can challenge offensive and defensive pass interference. Hasn't happened yet tonight, but trust me, down the line.
It will happen. And speaking of down the line, John Comiskey, who is a 4th-round draft pick, but they're excited about this young man. They think that athletically, played at a small school, but he can do a lot of things on the field and just sort of athletic presence out there of understanding what offenses are trying to do to him. Pretty good looking prospect.
Clock hanging in the pocket. That breaks down now. Look out, boy, he gets whacked high and low that time. Jacob Toti Mariner played his college ball at UCLA, was in there with 5.5 to go in the half, and that makes it 3rd down and 17.
And that's what you can't do, because if you do that, then you encourage more blitzing. There were 6 guys rushing on that play. The offensive line actually did a pretty good job. If it's not there on a short drop, you have to throw the ball away, because otherwise there's no chance whatsoever. Quarterbacks can do more to protect themselves than offensive linemen can. Don't let those blitzers think they're going to get there, or encourage them to blitz more often. Get rid of the football.
3rd and 17. Look out. He's going to go down again. Back at the 48-yard line. That's John Comiskey. Played his college ball at Charleston. Talked about him going to high school in Barberton. Short drive away. 4th-round pick. Impressive.
Just stuck to it. Defensive player of the year in the Mountain East Conference. Good bull rush to start. Spins off, keeps hustling, comes back and gets in on the play. That's pretty impressive. Austin Larkin in there as well. You might recognize that name, nephew Barry Larkin.
Cincinnati Reds long-time shortstop. Fair catch call for him made. 7-yard line. Marcus Green. Look right now at the career of Ed Reed.
I love football, no doubt about it. I was made to do it, created to do it. I've had conversations with the older guys. That's why I played the game the way I played it, because I took lessons from those veterans. I took lessons from my elders that made me the man I am.
So many memories that he has made for football fans in a career that spanned 12 years with the Ravens, 2 longest interception returns for touchdowns, in history, 107-106. Won the Super Bowl back in 2012. 2004 Defensive Player of the Year. Spectacular player. Brian Hill picks up 2. Flag thrown.
Holding number 89, offense, half the distance to the goal, still first.
Foul on Alex Gray, and we will go to Michelle.
With Ed Reed. Ed, congratulations. It's funny. It's funny. You look back when you were drafted, the headline in the Baltimore Sun was Reed, solid, not sizzling. And another story, let's face it, Reed is a pick without pizzazz.
Good old Mike Preston.
You haven't forgotten. How did they get that so wrong?
There's a lot of people got it wrong. Charlie Cassidy was one who got it wrong when I interviewed with Houston. You know, and it's funny that he's an analyst still doing that stuff. But anyway, you know, there's a lot of people. But, you know, you don't care about the people, you know, who are not around you, you know, who don't know you. All that mattered was my teammates, my family, people who knew me. You know, when people make comments about you, you know, and they're not around you, you know, or don't know the struggles you go through, you know, you got to not worry about them.
Well, some people worried a lot about you because you were always confusing and confounding quarterbacks. Everyone, Brady, Manning, all of them. What made you so good at tricking up quarterbacks?
I was born for this. You know, football started in 1920 here in Ohio. It's 2019, and I'm going into the Hall of Fame. My mom and my dad got together, you know, during championship season, during the championship time of the season in December. I was born in September in the fall, you know, and I'm a football guy. I was a sports guy. You know, I put my heart into this. You know, and this was all I really had for my opportunity to some degree coming up in my neighborhood. You know, and it was the reason why I didn't have to. My parents didn't have to pay for me to go to college. You know, thank God for the University of Miami. You know, so it's all I had. You know, and God has blessed me with a bunch of talents and a bunch of gifts, and I just wanted to nurture them, and this is what you get.
And you nurtured them into the rare experience of winning a Super Bowl in your hometown. You were a Defensive Player of the Year. Now you're in the Hall of Fame. What do you consider? Oh, hang on one second. We got to throw to Al real quick. Ed, stand by. Al?
Well, we just had a 44-yard penalty, defensive interference. Russell Gage was the...
Denver is challenging the ruling on the field of defensive pass interference.
All right, so this is something that is new. The interference rules have not changed what is, what isn't, but the fact you can challenge it is brand new. So here's your first challenge of preseason, and right off the bat, the new rule comes into effect. So Terry McCauley, away you go. What do you see?
Well, Al, let's start right with the process. What they're looking at in replay is there clear and obvious video evidence that the defender did not significantly hinder the receiver. Those are the key words, clear and obvious, significantly hinder. That's the standard replay is going to use to decide whether to reverse this. Now we apply it on this play. The defender sticks his arm out into the chest and appears to restrict the receiver. I don't believe there's going to be enough to reverse this. It's not certainly not to me clear and obvious that he did not significantly hinder, which is the standard.
Al Riveron, the head of officials, is here tonight. Short look
After
for
reviewing
Anderson.
the play, the ruling on the field of pass interference stands. Denver is charged with its first timeout.
Yeah, Terry, you summed up the phrase. It's clear and obvious.
Absolutely, Al. It's got to jump out at you that this is just the wrong ruling on the field. And because he puts his hand into him, and there is some evidence of hindrance, of significant hindrance, maybe not enough to confirm it. And it's interesting that they let it stand, because that tells us that had it not been called, they would not have created it in replay.
So that didn't remind you of Rams Saints in any way, right?
Not in the slightest.
The pass is incomplete. Intended for Wharton, and back we go to Michelle with Ed Reed.
Yeah, this is a guy who's watching this with a lot of interest, but our viewers are interested in the fact that you had that rare experience of playing in a Super Bowl in your hometown, being a Defensive Player of the Year, now in the Hall of Fame. What is your greatest NFL memory going to be?
My greatest NFL, oh wow, so many of them really. Winning the Super Bowl in New Orleans for the city of Baltimore is special. You know, I mean, I couldn't think of a better ending of a script, you know, with an organization. You know, to leave New Orleans, you know, after Katrina, you know, we was the last team to play in the Superdome after Katrina and the first team to play in the Super Bowl after Katrina. So that's pretty special. And me being from New Orleans, no, it don't get any more special than that. You know, outside of the weeks before when we beat the Patriots in New England finally, you know, that was pretty special too.
Another thing that was pretty special was this performance you gave at the Super Bowl celebration. After this play, we're going to have you take a listen because Ed's got an earpiece in.
That's so funny. I got to hear what this is.
Yeah, who can forget this? After the here, take a listen.
He's not even interested. Look at my son. He's like, Dad, what are you doing? Anquan cracking up. That's my bro, him and Torrey Smith.
We're kind of hoping you follow that up at the ceremony on Saturday. Ed Reed, congratulations.
Baltimore wants that. You got to get the people what they want.
Congrats, Ed.
Hey, Al and Chris, man. Good to see you guys, man.
Congratulations, big guy.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it, man.
Loved watching you play, man. We're going to have some of your memories at halftime and a great piece that we've done. Thank you, man.
That guy
always good to talk to you guys.
He's one of the funniest guys you'll ever be around. I'm just telling you right now. Spend a little time with him when you get a chance.
Great play, great defense that Baltimore had, of course, with Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed. Man, they were tough for a lot of years.
You know, I had more conversations, and I loved doing it. I'd go out to practice, and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed would be on the field, and they wouldn't really give it up, right? As I'm digging, I'm trying to get in on the game plan and doing all the stuff. And I would get to whatever the hot point question was that they knew that I knew a little bit, and they would both just sort of start giggling. But the communication between front end and back end, between those two guys, I think more often than not, a lot of times they knew the play before the ball was ever snapped.
Tremendous. Timeout called by Denver. Look at some of the more memorable moments from past Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. You saw Kelly passing to Reed. That was Terry Bradshaw taking one last snap from Mike Webster back in 1989. From the 7-yard line, the Broncos begin this drive with a 3-yard run to the left side there by David Williams. And that likely takes us to the 2-minute warning in a low-scoring affair in the Hall of Fame game. Only 73 yards of total offense for Denver and 75 for Atlanta in Vic Fangio's debut as a head coach. 7-0 at the 2-minute warning. Two minutes to the half here. 2nd and 7, and a good run and a first down, but a flag is thrown. Back at about the 14-yard line, that's Khalfani Muhammad, who was off to the races, but that run will be
number 87
negated.
Offense, 10-yard penalty, correction, half the distance to the goal, 2nd down.
That's Noah Fant there, number 1 pick.
Traded down from 10 to 20. We'll take a look at Fant out here on the edge as he. One of the things they're excited about is he is so athletic that he is going to be able to make a lot of those reach kind of blocks, but you can't do that. You can't grab. That's a good call. But he was probably as improved a blocker as I've seen in college football. In the beginning, I don't think Tony Dorsett would have wanted him blocking for him, but by the end of the career that he had at Iowa, he was a first-class tenacious blocker on the outside.
Tony D, it's been 25 years since he was inducted. Yes. Devontae Jackson to the 13-yard line.
How far did he go? 99.5?
99.5. Don Meredith called it.
Let's take a look at the first-round draft pick, Noah Fant, in the first half. Came out a little bit nervous, I think, and as we all did in our first game ever, had a chance for this one early on. Couldn't quite hang on to it. Good route. The second one came right back to him, as they should. Put the ball in his hands, pick up a first down. On the outside, a little bit of that tenacious blocking I was talking about. Boy, they train him well at Iowa. And then on the outside one more time. He is really, everybody just considers this guy to be a 4.5 speedster. He's a lot more than that. You don't get on the field at Iowa unless you sustain blocks, and he's learned a lot there.
Thrown to him 4 times with 1 catch. Denver now with a 3rd and 5 at their own 12-yard line. Broncos on top 7-0. You always have a lot of penalties in the first preseason game.
Delay of game. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down. Clock will stop. There's no 10-second runoff.
Canton, Ohio. About an hour and 15-minute drive south of Cleveland. A lot of talk around here about the Browns this year. We're going to see them on Sunday Night Football Week 3 against the Rams.
Cannot wait to see how excited that town is going to be.
3rd and 10. Keep it on the ground. And Devontae Jackson going next to nowhere. It'll be 4th down. Opening day of training camp for the Atlanta Falcons down in Flowery Branch. Here was Dan Quinn addressing the team.
We are championship worthy. We've got talent, but I don't know if we're talented yet. Let's meet down in Miami in February. 100% that's the goal. That's 6 months from now. And we'll make 2 trips to Miami this year if we follow this purpose right here. We're going to play unselfishly. We're going to pull for one another. And we're going to play our asses off together.
Dan Quinn, defensive pedigree. Took him to the Super Bowl in 16. To the playoffs again in 17, where they won a wild card game against the Rams. 39-yard line dropped again. This time it is Zacchaeus Olamide. Zacchaeus, but he recovers his own fumble. Dan Quinn, 5th year already, but made his chops, of course, on the defensive side of the ball. You know him well.
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah, he did a great job up there. That's how he got the job here. And his job right now as defensive coordinator is going to be to improve these pass rushers. They really have to get better, and that is really his forte. Even as the head coach now and the defensive coordinator, he's spending at least 1 period of practice every day with those pass rushers, because if they don't get better, the Falcons' defensive secondary is not going to hold up.
Pass is dropped. Well, Dan takes over as the defensive coordinator. Fired all 3 coordinators, offense, defense, special teams. And then it was Sarkisian who was let go. He was able to bring Cutter back. Keith Armstrong, a long-time special teams coach, was let go there as Cutter, who coached at Tampa Bay the last few seasons. And Quinn takes over himself, relieving Marquand Manuel, and will call the defensive signals.
Yeah, Raheem Morris, a former head coach on this offensive staff. Mike Mularkey, 3-time head coach on this staff. And so it really is going to allow Dan Quinn to be the defensive coordinator. I said, now what are you going to do when it comes to situational football, time management, all that sort of stuff? And he brought in Bob Sutton, who was also a head coach for 9 years, I think it was, at Army, and one of the really good head coaches Army's ever had. And so he is going to be the guy that sort of leads the way with that. He was defensive coordinator in Kansas City a season ago. So it'll be interesting to watch how all of this comes together. They meet about time management every Tuesday and Thursday, and Sutton's the one leading the way.
Anyway, so Becker run for 17 yards, and this is initially ruled. Nope. Here comes
ruling on the field was
judge.
an incomplete pass. It's second down.
Incomplete pass. Alexander Johnson came in. For a moment, it looked like a fumble, but the arm coming forward, an incomplete pass, and they retain possession. Anything to get rid of it at that point.
It's amazing. You know, he will learn. We see so many quarterbacks, you don't have to actually throw it, right? You could flip it underhand to the same thing by cocking the thing back. It almost cost him a fumble, but I do think he held on to it.
Fangio wants grounding. Doesn't get it. Benkert, who had that 17-yard run a couple of plays ago, fires a strike to Christian Blake to the 29-yard line for a first down. Locked down to just over a minute. Atlanta has one timeout.
Benkert has shown some flashes to me out here.
Not bad. 7 of 14 for 82 yards on the 17-yard run. Shoots it off to the side, and that's Hill making the catch. Stays inbounds. 45 seconds. Horace Richardson makes the stop. Want to preserve that last time out. It'll be second down and 14.
Got to think about all the field goal range first.
That throw, yeah, nice. Right on the money. Zacchaeus makes the catch here with 29 seconds. And out of bounds to stop the clock at the 15-yard line.
There's Virginia's all-time leading receiver, Lamade Zacchaeus. And when we were talking with Dan Quinn, you know, he always talks to me. He once talked to me about wide receivers. He says, I want you to watch this Lamade now. Lamade can play. He's pretty good. Keep an eye on him out there in the game. So there you go, Lamade.
Becker knows each other pretty well. They played in Virginia. Fired over the middle, and that's caught at the goal line by Sean Bain. But they're going to spot it inside the one, and now Atlanta will take its final timeout. But they'll have a first and goal from about the 12-inch line.
So let's talk about what's going on here. I mean, Benkert really is trying to be the backup quarterback and prove that they don't have to keep Matt Schaub, the veteran on this team. And he is showing some definite zip on the ball out here tonight. You can tell that plan B, as they call it, and all the extra work that they put in is working okay out here for Kurt Benkert.
Schaub trying to hang in there for a 16th season.
Greg Knapp over on the sideline, excellent quarterback coach, and he's always been high on Benkert, and I think you're seeing a little bit of why that is.
Benkert, 24 years old, in East Carolina, transferred to Virginia.
Oh boy, they are unsettled out there. Late substitutions.
The whole 9 yards, but the pass is caught. Brian Hill makes the catch for the touchdown. So the defense couldn't get it together that time. And down the field they go as Vic Fangio watches Atlanta pull to within an extra point of tying the game.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you play a lot of different things. Look at Benkert. He's looking over. He said, oh, nobody's going to cover him. I love his eyes. Did you see his eyes? Like he couldn't believe what he saw there.
Didn't have to look off any safety that time.
No, you sure didn't.
Giorgio Tavecchio for the point after. Flag is down. Kick for the moment is good. Busy first half for Walt Anderson and the crew.
Illegal formation defense. They lined up with 7 players on the right side of the formation. The try is good. That 5-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Fangio, wonder how he's feeling, battling that kidney stone all day at the hospital, and said he had some wonder drugs. Probably didn't help the kidney stone that last drive.
Vecchio for the kickoff here. Devontae Jackson. And he'll be forced out of bounds up at around the 27-yard line.
I tell you, that was a nice play on the outside by Kendall Sheffield. He's their 4th-round draft pick and one of the fastest guys that they have on Atlanta's defense. They're really hopeful that he can turn into something. He was a Texas hurdle champion, 110-meter hurdles, 300-meter hurdles, and they just talk about him as one of those guys. You just can't have enough guys with speed. It looked like this one might bounce outside. Sheffield just had no problem at all.
Running back is Muhammad. The lock will air it out deep downfield. There's a flag thrown. The pass for the moment is incomplete. Going to be called on Jordan Miller. That's Trinity Benson, the intended receiver, with 5 seconds.
All right, so now we're inside 2 minutes, right?
Prior to the pass, holding number 28 defense, 5-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
No, prior to the pass, so that is not going to be reviewable. It has to be pass interference, right, Terry?
No, Chris. They can look at this to see if the ball's in flight when this hold occurs, or even if it is enough for restriction for pass interference. So they can create the foul. They can change the foul from defensive holding to pass interference if the ball is in flight.
I see.
And it's clear and obvious that he was significantly hindered.
I got it. So they can actually check to see if the ball was in flight or not.
Correct.
When you say they, you mean it's the eye in the sky. It's the replay official from upstairs who has to call it in.
That's correct. And he didn't have enough to stop the game.
Yeah, thank God.
Here they go.
Stephen Dunbar loses it, and the Falcons have it, and they will run it down to triple zeros on the clock to the 19-yard line. Well, that's the end of the first half. Falcons get the second half kickoff. The game is tied 7-7. Denver 7, Atlanta 7, the 100th NFL season, where it all began in Canton, Ohio. And it's our annual, it's a rite of passage. A tradition unlike any other, as Jim Nance may say at the Masters. Tony Dungy joins us for the third quarter of the Hall of Fame game. I can't believe it's been 11 years since you've coached the game.
Hard to believe. 11 years with NBC. Doesn't seem like it, but it's been great.
Right. Yeah. Unbelievable. You're getting residuals now these days. So we're going to talk to Tony about a lot of things. Of course, what's on the mind of a lot of football fans, and we talked about it a little bit with Terry McCauley in the first half, is that the new ability for coaches to challenge pass interference. We'll get to you in a second on that as we get the kickoff here. And Atlanta will take the first possession of the second half with Marcus Green to the 25-yard line. So what'd you think when you heard about it?
I really don't like the idea of replaying judgment calls. I think that brings a lot into it. And now as a coach, you have to decide, whose judgment do I trust? Do I trust mine? Do I trust the officials? And I think it's going to be a can of worms for the coaches.
And it's all because of the Saints-Rams play, of course.
One play, and I think we had an overreaction to it. I'm not a big fan of replay anyway, but I really do not like the idea of replaying judgment calls.
Pretty interesting as we proceed into the regular season to see how this one shakes out.
You know, the scary part about it from my standpoint is when it gets to the booth review. You know, as long as it's one of 2 or 3 challenges, depending on what happens in the game, is that going to be okay? But when you get to the final 2 minutes or you get to overtime, the booth review is going to take over. We could have a lot of challenges to this play that was, I think, fairly obvious to everybody.
You could, and you want to get this play right. But now, you know, I was talking to Walt Anderson on the field before the game, and he's saying, hey, things that look pretty clear-cut in super slow motion aren't that clear-cut on the field. Things that we let go, now they're going to be scrutinized, and you're going to have to call it, even though 99% of the time it wouldn't be called.
Yeah, we met with the officials yesterday, and they made it very clear to us this is a one-year trial. I think there's a lot of people that have some concerns about it. You know, as long as, and I think Vic Fangio in the first half challenged that one. He wanted to see, you know, where's the line? I've got to understand this.
And that's a 40-yard play. Do you challenge it even though you don't think you're going to get it? Now down the road, you don't have that challenge left in the fourth quarter when you need it. I think that's going to be the trick for a lot of coaches.
Here's a 3rd and 2 play, and that will move the change. Brian Hill, and we're going to go to Michelle.
Well, I spoke to Vic Fangio. As we mentioned at the top of the show, he is coaching with a kidney stone. That still hasn't passed, but he told me he's still feeling pretty good. Now, as far as getting his first half on the sidelines as a head coach, he said, it's gone pretty good. I just still have to figure out where the best place is to stand. But as for Drew Lock, Fangio said what he saw wasn't good enough, except for his scramble, but he said we're going to see more of him, obviously, here in the second half. Now, Dan Quinn confirmed that Kurt Benkert will play the entire game. He liked the way his quarterback responded with a touchdown pass after some duress early. And as for John Kaminsky, Quinn said what he liked was that it's not too big for him. He was tight in camp, but he's loosening up now.
Flag is thrown there. That was Benkert to Graham. We'll get the call
Holding
from
number 32, offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Foul is on Allison. Tony, of course, you're a guy who has firsthand knowledge of a kidney stone.
Oh, gosh, I cannot believe he's out there. I had one in 1988, the most pain I've ever been in. When I heard about it, I said, there's no way Vic will be able to coach tonight if that hasn't passed. But he's gutting it out.
Hey, you wait as long as he waited to get a head coaching job. Some little kidney stone's not gonna. Wouldn't have held you out of your first job. You waited almost as long as he did.
What's funny, I have to relate to him. Knowing where to stand, that is the toughest thing about doing it. You're trying to get a good view, but you're trying to be engaged with your players. It's tough.
How tough is it to be defensive coordinator and head coach? Because you have to make decisions throughout the course of the game, but being a coordinator, you've also got to be in and out with your guys.
I did not want to do that, Chris. I did not call the defenses any of my 11 years. I wanted to be the head coach, and I think it's important that you're able to do that because you have to make some big decisions.
I have one other question for you. So being on the field, he's only called defenses from the field one time. I don't know if you were in the booth or
I was
down
in the booth my whole career.
You can see everything. We stand up here, we have all the answers, right, Tony?
All the replays.
I can see everything. I would never make a mistake in football. But when you get down on field level, there's only like one dimension to see.
And what he's saying, I got to figure out where to stand so I can see. It's so much different than being up in the booth. I remember my first year as a head coach. The first time I was down there, we're playing Barry Sanders. I said, wow, he's
really good.
It looks totally different than up there in the booth, for sure.
I'll never forget, I was hurt one game, and they put me upstairs to watch it. I couldn't be on the field or whatever the rules were at the time. And I remember how simple the game looked. I mean, you know, when you're down on the field, things are flying by you a million miles an hour, and it's just hard to focus on what you're supposed to do. You get up here, and it's just, oh, how can they not see that, you know, that two-man defense?
I was a young coach in Pittsburgh, and Jack Lambert was hurt, and he sat up in the booth. And he was so mad the whole game. How can they not get that? How can they make that mistake? It's very easy up here.
You're lucky most of your career was before social media. Fair catch called for at the 20-yard line by Kelvin McKnight. A visit with Ty Law. There he is when we come back to Canton, Ohio.
Where I come from, if you don't love the game of football, you better move. We played baseball. We played basketball. We live football. And that's the difference when you grow up in Western Pennsylvania, at least in Aliquippa, where I'm from. I was born into it, and I loved it.
The great cornerback Ty Law, 5 times to the Pro Bowl, member of the All-Decade team. Tom Brady sent a beautiful letter to the committee telling them that how good Ty Law was, and we're going to visit with him in just a moment. With the game tied 7-7, you're looking at Drew Lock, the rookie out of Missouri, the 4th quarterback picked overall in the April draft. And he starts this drive from his own 20-yard line. A lot of room to the outside, but that closes quickly. Gain of 7. Devontae Jackson, and we go to Michelle.
Well, Ty, we just heard in that video the pride you have in your hometown of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, and produced a couple other Hall of Famers, Mike Ditka and Tony Dorsett. How did that town shape you?
It shaped everything that I am. I mean, everything I do in football and in life stems from Aliquippa. I mean, it's everything to me. Tough. It wasn't easy. Work ethic, the competitive nature, and it just bred in me, and it's all from Aliquippa.
Well, we've got some footage of a young Ty Law. There it is. You can see that.
That's when they used to call me the next Tony Dorsett, but I figured it out real early that there'd never be another Tony Dorsett, so I had to go to defense.
Well, what was that little guy thinking about? What were his dreams?
To play in the NFL and get to this point, I was very fortunate in my high school years from like it was 7th, 8th grade all through high school. I stayed my summers down there in Dallas with Tony, so I was always chasing that dream and chasing to be just like him, so he was a major influence in my life.
Well, you were drafted by Bill Parcells, played for him and played for Bill Belichick, and I'm wondering what it was like to be coached by those guys. Let's start with Parcells.
Well, Coach Parcells, I think he's a master manipulator. I mean, he gets into your head, to try to bring the best out of you. It's not about so much like Coach Belichick is more of the X's and O's, and he's going to put you in the right position, expect you to use your ability. He's going to outthink him, you know what I mean? But Coach Parcells is going to get up in here, whether you got a good game plan or not, you better get it done, you know what I mean? So I think that's the major difference between those guys as far as, Bill Parcells, manipulator of the mind. Coach Belichick, he's going to put it down on paper. I did all the hard work, figure it out, and get it done.
You're one of the rare few who got to play for both. You were there at the beginning of the Patriots dynasty, and it's still going. How do you explain that sustained success?
It's a culture that, we created, and I mean by the guys, the old school guys with the first three. I mean, we expected everybody to come in and walk a certain line, and I think it all stems from that, and then Tom still being there is carrying over. So when we look at the team right now, we say, you know what, that's us because we created that, you know what I mean? And they call it the Patriot way now, you know what I mean? But, we just sit back there and laugh because we were no nonsense, we were an unselfish group, we played for one another, and everyone sacrificed some individuality for the sake of the team, and it's still going on strong right now.
You picked off a lot of great quarterbacks in your career. Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning, even Tom Brady. And I'm wondering, is there a quarterback who got away, the one that you wanted to intercept but never did?
You know what? Brett Favre. I never got Brett, but he didn't throw at me too much either. You know what? And I think, and I didn't get John Elway. So, I think they were smart enough to stay away long enough so that I didn't get them. But no, you know what? Those are the two that I can't get back. But I did catch a ball from John Elway in the Pro Bowl, so I kind of counted that. We was playing a flag football game, and he threw me a touchdown pass, so I took that as an interception, John Elway, but we were on the same team at the time.
I like your way of thinking, Ty. That works for me. Hey, congratulations, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Michelle.
Al?
There they are, the Aliquippa guys. Mike Ditka goes into the hole in '88. Tony D, we saw a live shot of him earlier in '94. And Ty Law to be inducted here on Saturday night. 3rd and 5, and that should be enough for the first down with forward progress with Graham. Tony, we're visiting with Tony Dungy. It's a passing league, and it has been for years. Isn't it interesting that half of the Hall of Fame class are defensive backs?
I was really proud of that. And you're talking about great defensive backs, too. Ty Law could have played in the 70s and 80s with us, Chris. Physical, tough guy. Champ Bailey, just a guy that played on that left side that you stayed away from. And Ed Reed, spectacular. So as a former defensive back myself, this is a great play.
Johnny Robinson, that guy, he remembers so many of his great plays.
Well, let's take a look at this AFC Championship game. Remember this?
Yes, I
Tony?
remember it well.
And yes, you don't want to see this, right? Why do you have your eyes closed?
No, and then he comes back playing at Kansas City and gets 2 more against Peyton. He was special in the big games.
He wanted to get Brett Favre, but New England didn't play Green Bay that much.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Can you believe Tom Brady's still playing at that level?
And playing well.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really amazing, isn't it?
Special competitor, and as Ty talked about, the culture, and Tom has continued that culture. He's not going to let those guys be average, mediocre, even just very good. He's going to demand greatness.
I tell you who they do talk about, though. When you get Belichick and Brady together, Ed Reed comes up. They talk about Ed Reed. I mean, there is no question about it that was the one guy that I think for a lot of great quarterbacks, he kind of found a way inside their head. A lot of times he would turn and run and make you believe he was out of position, and before you threw the ball, flip back around and make the interception.
The unorthodox play, the unexpected, you couldn't predict him, and that's, I think, what hurt a lot of those great quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, that's Bain making the catch. I tell you, Benkert is 17 out of 26 for 172. This guy looks pretty good tonight.
No, he certainly does, and he looks like he's a fit for this offense. Tony, you know all about the Shanahan style, whether it's Mike or Kyle Shanahan. They're going to go off that play action if you can run it a little bit, and then you just go this. So it looks like that run, you hand it off. You hand it off again, and all of a sudden it's a bootleg, it's a play action, and somebody's wide open.
And the thing you want to see as a coach in these games, like this Hall of Fame game, how is he just processing things? Is everything smooth? Is he doing what we're supposed to do? And Benkert is doing that tonight.
And he's shown a little liveliness with that arm, too, don't you think?
I like his ball. I really do.
And he's trying to win that backup job. You know that Ryan's going to be the starter. But can he supplant Shaw? Or do you keep three quarterbacks? Here's Hill around the left side, and finally is out of bounds, but should be inside the 5-yard line.
You know, this Brian Hill's no slouch either. He had 115 yards in a game in week 16, I think it was, a season ago, but he has a little burst around the outside. For a lot of the time, it was Ito Smith who stepped in there when Devontae Freeman was hurt. And, of course, Tevin Coleman now out of the mix. He's going over to San Francisco to play. But keep your eye on Brian Hill. He's a pretty good-looking player.
He averaged 8 yards per carry last year on just 20 carries. First and goal now from the 4-yard line. And here he goes again, but a flag is thrown. This is Ollison, Quadre Ollison, the rookie from Pittsburgh, 5th-round pick. Get the call from Mr. Anderson.
Ollison will tell you that's running back Pitt.
Yes.
Illegal shift, number 16 of the offense was moving while another player was in motion. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
I was actually talking to Bernie Parmalee, their running back coach, before the game, and Bernie really wanted to see Ollison tonight. He said, we see him in practice, you can't really tackle, but he's a bigger back, a physical guy. We want to see him lower those pads and see what he does in full contact.
Yeah, not only did they get some bigger offensive linemen up there, but he's a 240-pound back. So now they have the ability on some of those 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s that they didn't convert last year to maybe now make some of those plays.
So let Tevin Coleman go to San Francisco, so that spot behind Freeman will be open as the pass is broken up at the goal line. Trey Johnson is there covering Eric Sobert.
I got to give a shout out to Trey. He's my neighbor in Tampa, Florida. Yes, sir.
Trey Johnson?
For him, yes.
Villanova kid?
Villanova, yep. From Tampa.
Yep.
Good, young, fast corner. Definitely pulling for him to make this team.
Yeah, he had a bit of a shoulder issue last year with the Steelers, and now trying to come back. You know, you go down the list, and as you're preparing for the game, you're getting a little nugget on each one of these guys. I'm like, all of them were like all conference or, you know.
You don't get to this level without being a good player.
It's unbelievable, really.
Off the hands of Ollison there, it'll be 3rd down and goal.
Yeah, I don't know that this is really Ollison's role. I mean, in this offense, you have to be able to make some plays, but he is going to be the power back, probably the blocker, but they do have to find that back that they feel most comfortable with. It's probably Devontae Freeman, but running those choice routes. You know, in this offense, those little option routes run by the halfback are a huge part of it.
4.5 left in the quarter. 3rd down and goal over the middle. The pass is incomplete. Threw into traffic, trying to get it into Alex Gray, and it'll be 4th down.
You know, that's one of the foreign exemption players, Alex Gray, and I think that it was a pretty good throw there by Binkert.
He expected him to sit. Yeah,
exactly.
He tried to throw him away from the defender, and Gray didn't read it that well.
That's exactly right. So I think the throw was in the right spot. It's just they probably didn't do that in rugby or whatever. I have no idea.
Tavecchio to try to give Atlanta the lead. 27-yard field goal attempt is good. Missed one earlier from 54. This one puts Atlanta on top. Falcons 10, Broncos 7. Very emotional when the guys go into the Hall of Fame and it's official. You saw Michael Irvin, you saw Shannon Sharp, Chris Carter back in 2013, and Brett Favre 3 years ago. Went in the same class with Tony Dungy.
Yes, sir.
How hard is it when you start talking about your family to keep it together?
It is very tough, and you're trying to give honor to everyone, and you start thinking about those moments and how much your mom and dad and your coaches meant to you and your brothers and sisters. It's tough.
You're always going to leave somebody out too.
Yes.
Mohammed brings it back. Kevin Mawai, look at his career.
I never want to be on the sidelines. I want to be in the mix. I want to be remembered for more than just a football player. I want to be remembered as a leader amongst the men. The coolest thing now is being introduced as Pro Football Hall of Famer Kevin Mawai. It's not going to change who I am. It's not going to change what I think about the game or what the game has done for me. It's an overwhelming feeling to kind of grasp. I'm one of a very elite few.
Mawai to the Pro Bowl 8 times in that career with 3 different teams. Checks it down. Catch made. Mohammed makes the catch, and we go to Michelle with Kevin.
Yes, with Kevin, and it is not your first time in Canton, Ohio. You were here with the Seattle Seahawks back in 1997, but you wouldn't go into the hall. You wouldn't go into the building. How come?
I didn't deserve to. I didn't earn it. And I felt like I wasn't worthy to be in the hall at the time. I actually stood at the top of the old stadium and watched the induction ceremony take place during pregame warm-up. And that night before, I just didn't feel like I was worthy. I didn't earn it yet.
Well, now you've earned it. And so as you get ready to get that gold jacket and have that bust unveiled, what's this all been like?
It's been absolutely surreal. I still keep pinching myself. I think Monday was the first time it really dawned on me that I'm getting in the Hall of Fame. And then sitting in the hotel lobby today, I'm like just awestruck by all the guys that were walking by. I'm like, that's Jack Youngblood. That's Floyd Little. You know, I can't believe it. And I get to be one of them. And somebody told me today, it's like, well, you're going to be one of those guys that some of these young players will be talking about in the future. So it's a thrill. It really is.
You know, there aren't many clear-cut stats to quantify a success on the offensive line. So what do you think set you apart?
Well, I learned the stats, 13,000-yard rushers, 9,200-yard games, more than any other offensive lineman in the NFL. My career longevity, I had 177 straight at one time, 241 games played, 238 started, those things. And then, you know, I think I earned the respect of players around the league by how I played the game. They might not have liked it, but they respected the way I played.
And here you are. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So glad to be here.
Al.
All right, Michelle, Kevin Mawai. He's on Herm Edwards' staff now at Arizona
Yes.
State, offensive analyst.
Doing some good things, and he's going to be excited tomorrow to get that gold jacket. Chris, that was an emotional moment for me when you're looking at all the guys that he talked about, and they're there, and you walk down through there and get that jacket for the first time. It's unbelievable.
2:47 left in the third. Falcons by a field goal.
The brotherhood of football, it doesn't stop. It carries over for a lifetime. I'm really honored to be in this elite bunch. We're in a fellowship that can't be broken. It's difficult to tell you how thrilled I am to be inducted.
That's Johnny Robinson. Much like Tony Dungy, he played both sides of the ball. 15 offensive touchdowns. Only guy in the history of the league, 50 or more interceptions and 5 offensive TDs. Meanwhile, Atlanta starting this drive from inside the 40-yard line. Hill Lewis makes the catch. And we'll go to Michelle.
You know, Al, Johnny Robinson suffered a mild stroke several years ago, and though he doesn't experience memory issues, he's not always comfortable verbalizing his thoughts. So I get the privilege of telling you about Robinson's distinguished background. He's being inducted as a safety, but he played on both sides of the ball on LSU's 1958 national championship team. And he played halfback for the first 2 seasons of his pro football career before being converted to safety in 1962. And if that doesn't illustrate how athletic he is, along with playing football at LSU, Robinson was an SEC tennis champion. As a singles player in 1958, the following year, he and his brother were SEC doubles champions. And Al, he never expected to play pro football. He said he was planning to go into the Air Force.
The helmet coming up call here as you look at Johnny Robinson in his tennis whites.
Al, I'll tell you too, that secondary, here's the foul here.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, use of helmet number 23 of the offense. It's a 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It'll still be first down.
It's on Brian Hill. Terry, take us through this one now.
He lowers his head and to initiate contact to any part of the opponent's body. He's not lowering himself in this case to make a play. He's leading with his helmet into the opponent. So this is illegal use of the helmet and is a foul.
But is the defender not lowering his helmet too?
Well, absolutely. Well, Tony, you make a great point.
I would be irate if I was over on the sideline.
In fact, Tony, as always when we worked together many years ago, you are correct. This is actually should have been a foul on the defense.
You know, I don't know what you do with that because players, the object of the game is to get beneath your opponent. And at that point when contact was being initiated, they both tried to get lower than the other one. And their helmets hit.
I don't know how you call that.
It's a hard call. I agree with you.
I would say it's not on the offense, Chris, because he's turning his head. He's just absorbing the contact. That's why Tony's right. This is an offensive foul. Defensive foul.
Fortunately, not challengeable or reviewable as that pass is incomplete. Then Elijah Holder broke it up. And it'll be second down and 7 with 1:37 to go in the third quarter.
There you go, a little double move right there. Had an opportunity. Ball just wasn't
get enough on it.
Yeah, got a little excited, didn't he? The fadeaway jumper got him. You know, so many times these guys in practice can make those throws, right? And there's no defense.
Hit.
Exactly. But so often, if you can plant that foot and fire it, you have a chance.
Allison takes it across midfield. Tony, before we let you go, it's a rite of passage, of course. Every year we have you up here. You got to give us your dark horse team or two. It can't be Cleveland this year because everybody expects them.
No, my son Justin, he's already got Cleveland in the Super Bowl,
right.
So we can't talk about that.
Who aren't we looking at that you like a lot?
I'm going to go AFC and look at Jacksonville. I think they have some defensive talent, and Nick Foles, I think, has the ability to elevate that offense. Look out for them. I think they can make some noise.
How about your old team?
Well, I'm not saying they're a dark horse. They were in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And they're going to be fine. The Colts are, I think. NFC side of it, I'm looking at these Falcons. I think we might forget about them, but they've got a lot of offensive talent. And talking to Dan Quinn today on the sideline, they're going to do some things defensively that they haven't done before, and that could make a difference.
Well, they were wrecked last year with injuries. Yeah, they lost, Neal on opening night. And offensively, Freeman got hurt in week 2 and barely played. It was a mess. And Jones as well, Deion Jones.
I think they're going to get this running game going. That's going to help protect Matt Ryan a little bit better. And I think defensively, they're going to make some plays with just a little bit different style of defense.
But you have your quarterback of your defense in the middle of the defense, the safety, and your linebacker, your cover linebacker. The communication is just over at that point, and it happened early in the year.
Fair catch. Tony, great to have you with us, man.
Always
See you on
good.
Football Night. Take care, buddy.
See you, pal.
All right.
You know a little something about those guys, don't you?
Certainly do.
That was a great show. It was just a great show.
Football in prime time on a regular basis for the first time ever back in 1970. Big hole exploited by Muhammad. And he gets taken down at about the 40-yard line. So from his 12 out to about the 40 for Khalfani Muhammad at the University of California on the practice squad last year. 31-yard pickup here.
Yeah, just sort of the classic outside zone type of run here, and they're making some blocks on the edge on the outside there. And the one thing about Muhammad is we have seen when he has been given a little bit of a gap that he is pretty explosive, a fast guy.
Quarter winding down as Devontae Jackson gets stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and we have played 3 in Canton. The Hall of Fame game, 10-7, Atlanta. More after this.
Being a part of football gave my dad another family and a team to be a part of, and it was with great purpose, because you're not necessarily doing something just for yourself, but you're doing something for the brothers on either side of you. And I think that that's what he would say about the game of football.
Pat Bowling passed away a few weeks ago. Will be enshrined in the Hall of Fame on Saturday night as we start the 4th quarter with a pass here to Khalfani Muhammad. And John Elway now joins us in the booth. And of course, you knew Pat for so many years. Boy, this guy would compete at everything, wouldn't he?
He did. He did. It was, you know, as far as having an owner and having somebody that wants to win, he couldn't have played for a better guy. And he was a great competitor, and, you know, was a triathlete, and also, you know, was a great owner for all his players.
Yeah, tremendous accomplishments. And, you know, you looked at their record, the Broncos' record before he took over and after. I mean, they went from 2nd worst to 3rd best in those periods of time, as the pass here is caught by Stephen Dunbar. So right now you're running the team on the football end, Joe Ellis on the business end, so everything seems to be going along fairly well right now.
So far, yeah. We just got to figure out how to win more football games this year. That's always the key. Is struggled the last 2 years, but you know, I think that we're excited about the offseason and where we are. So got a chance to be competitive this year.
And talk about bringing in Joe Flacco and then drafting Locke.
Well, I think obviously we've had a tough time replacing Peyton, and since he retired, and you know, I think with Joe's availability and the success that he's had in the system that we're running with Gary Kubiak 3 or 4 years ago, we thought was a good fit, and you know, what we gave up for him, we thought was a good deal. So, and then when Drew was still there in the second round, we're excited about his ability, but you know, we'll have a chance to sit behind you know, Joe and learn and watch, which is a good situation for him to be in.
That was Delshon Phillips bursting through. We'll talk about Vic Fangio in a second. I want to get to this next play, and then we'll go down memory lane with you in a second, but we'll take a look at this. There's Joe Flacco. He will not play, obviously, tonight. This is one of 5 preseason games. The only teams that play 5 preseason games are the teams that play in the Hall of Fame game. So it's Denver and Atlanta tonight, and everybody else gets in action next week. Benkert is the quarterback. And a flag is thrown here. We'll get the call from Walt Anderson. And then we'll take a little visit and stroll down memory lane. Eight penalties on Atlanta tonight, 5
illegal
against
block in the
Denver.
back, number 17, offense, 10-yard penalty, still 1st down.
Okay, back we go to John Elway and Pat Bowling.
There's only 4 words. This one's for John.
I'm going to say this, and he would not want me to say this, but this one's for Pat.
You paid it back. But that was your, people forget, that was your last game. Well, you won the Super Bowl, and then your last game ever was against Atlanta the following
season. Yeah, we were able to win it again, but thrilled to be able to do that for Pat and get that one. We're hoping he'd hang on, so at least he could watch everything going on with the Hall of Fame and his name up there, and hopefully that you know, he'd recognize a little bit or something. But unfortunately, wasn't going to be able to do it. But it'll be a great honor for his family, obviously, and a guy that is not more deserving as a contributor to go in than Pat Bowlen.
I assume you had no idea he was going to say this one's for John. I looked at your face there. It was like, what?
I was totally surprised. Did not know that that was coming about at all. So,
but that was who he was, wasn't it? I mean, it really was. He was the most unselfish of guys. And from day one, in one of his opening speeches, and he got you, he said, we're building everything around John Elway. He's going to be one of the absolute best that ever played. We're building everything around him.
He did, and that's yeah, he did not pull any punches, and he was honest with everybody, and I think that's why all his players loved playing for him, because of the fact that he was a straight shooter with everybody, and knew that you know, everybody wanted to win as much as, you know, he wanted to win more than anybody. So you know, to be able to see that as in the leadership of the organization was great for everybody.
It was a remarkable finish to really the time that you guys had together with those 2 Super Bowls, because it had been so rough, right? There have been a lot of those tough moments. Looks like Binkard may have gotten a little injured on that play. He's had a nice night out here.
Yeah, that would mean that Shaw would have to come back into the game because he's the only other quarterback in uniform tonight.
See how Shaw feels about that. You get a little locked up when you're 38 years old. Stretching those groins.
Downfield, number 61 of the offense. That penalty is declined. Pass interference, number 7 of the offense, blocking downfield during a forward pass. That penalty is also declined. It's 4th down.
It's a 4th down, and they can see if Binkard can get healed up enough to come back in the next time. Yeah, he's thrown off one.
Did he get stepped
right
on?
There.
He may have gotten stepped on the play fake there.
They work on his toe on the sideline. Meanwhile, the Falcons to punt. Bosher sends it skyward. Nick Williams from the 12-yard line. And with 11:49 remaining, stick around one more minute. Got a couple more questions for you. John Elway with us. Aged and experienced, the oldest full-time head coaches at the time of their first game. Dick LeBeau, 64 years old on his birthday in 01 with Cincinnati. Bud Wilkinson all the way back in 78 with the Cardinals. Rod Rust at New England in 1990, and Vic Fangio, 61 years 14 days old, is what he will be for his first regular season game at Oakland. So there he is. John Elway is with us. Well, you went outside the box. Everybody said, no, you're going to go offense, you're going to go younger, but you went for Fangio. What made the difference?
Well, you know, we went through the interview process. We stayed wide open as far as our thought process. But when we interviewed Vic, and he was the last one that we interviewed, I thought that he was the guy and ready to go, and his attention to detail and the success he'd had on the defensive side was a good fit for us. And so I wanted somebody that was great on one side of the ball or the other, and Vic's proven to be great on the defensive side. Plus, he was more than ready to be a head coach.
Yeah, he waited long enough, that's for sure. But you know the thing that I love about him when I always, you know, you're watching the tape, getting ready for our games and whatever. And so you're running a couple of, you know, go back and say, okay, when do I recognize the coverage? And with his defenses, it's about as late as any scheme that I see. They do, you know, they're not going to jam up. They're not going to be 8 or 9 guys around the line of scrimmage all the time. But that secondary is tough to read.
There's no question, and that's one of the things that he really likes. And the safeties move late as possible, and as they get closer to safeties, get more comfortable with it, they'll continue to get better with it.
Well, that's Brett Rippon, who's in at quarterback right now, the nephew of the Super Bowl winning quarterback Mark Rippon.
Offense, 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
So he takes over for Locke. Meanwhile, so you bring in Fangio. He's the last guy you talked to, but then Mike Munchak also came in to interview, and then you wind up with him as the offensive line coach.
Well, we're very fortunate there because Mike's obviously a tremendous offensive line coach, and Vic and Mike had a relationship, both being from Pittsburgh, actually, the area right up there, and so east of wherever that is from Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure where they are. 4 miles.
Everything's east
4
of
miles
Pittsburgh.
from each other.
You went to Stanford? Come on.
I know, but they're from but 4 miles apart from each other. I can't remember the cities that they're from. But anyway, we're thrilled that Mike's here. He's obviously got a great reputation, and they know each other, and so is also fortunate that Mike's daughter lived in Denver with the grandchild.
That helped the cause.
That helped the cause a lot.
What'd you think when you heard this morning that Vic had a kidney stone?
I know. I was a little worried about it at first, but evidently he's had one before, and he's toughing it up, and, you know, he's getting through it. So we're excited that he's doing okay.
Give us a quick review of Drew Lock tonight.
You know, I think that Drew's a very talented young guy that's, you know, we think he's got a bright future ahead. I think that we saw some different things that he wasn't expecting. He saw a little more man coverage tonight than he was planning on seeing.
Brought a little pressure, too.
Brought a little pressure, and so we weren't really ready about it. But excited about Drew, and I think he's in a good situation to be able to learn from Joe.
Well, you can tell from a clean pocket, he threw the ball really well. When he was under pressure, he, you know, eyes would drop. He tried to scramble around and make some plays, and I made the point that sometimes it's the quarterback themselves that have to protect themselves. It's not always the offensive line, right?
Yep.
If it's not there, there's nothing wrong with throwing one away every once in a while.
Well, that's right. And, you know, and I think that I can still remember my first start in preseason. And it's a big deal. It's a big jump, and I'm sure he was feeling the nerves tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
John, always great to see you, man.
Great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming by. Take care.
You.
See you, buddy.
Good to see you, Chris.
About a little new feature here, SNF Genius, talking about the predictive analysis and what might be for these two teams. The Broncos projected 7 wins, the Falcons 8. Playoff probability, you see it there. And who are the favorites? Well, there they are. Their projected wins 10 apiece for the Patriots and the Saints. Playoff probabilities through the roof. Super Bowl probabilities not bad either. So that's the Super Bowl that almost was a season ago, and who knows, maybe will be this year.
Sunday Night Genius, powered by Pro Football Focus. Meanwhile, Schaub is back in the game, so much for the rest of his night off. Vic Fangio's team down by 3. So Schaub played the better part of the first quarter. And he was 3 of 7 for -2 yards. Keep it on the ground here to Allison, and we go to Michelle.
Yeah, Schaub in because Kurt Bankert, who was supposed to play the entire game, you see him there, number 6. And if you look at his right foot, that toe kind of plants. That was the toe that they were examining on the bench. And they took off his shoe and sock. He managed to get the shoe back on. You see him hobbling there. They took him back to the x-ray room. Al, he is out for the night. And, you know, Dan Quinn told me at halftime he had hoped he'd play the whole way. So not to be.
Yeah, what a tough break for him, too, because he was 19 of 34. A lot of good throws for 186 and a touchdown. And he's with his team on top by 3, but Schaub's got to go the rest of the way because they have no other quarterback in uniform. And the pass is incomplete. Matt Ryan, of course, will not play tonight. So I guess if Schaub went down, what do? You go to Steve Bartkowski in the stands or something? Get him some shoulder pads, I guess.
Not a chance are they putting him in out there. Not a chance. But, you know, the thing that I liked about Bankert was that he really looked like he was reading it out, you know, that he was understanding what the scheme was about and taking advantage of it, but not holding the ball, not doing some of the things that we saw Drew Lock do, which is kind of look confused, hold the ball, take those sacks.
On a 3rd and 12, under pressure, the pass is incomplete, intended for Zacchaeus, the rookie out of Virginia, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, and Vic Fangio is going to tell you this game doesn't mean anything or whatever, but it's his first game, and you know he would like to win the football game. His defense has played fairly well out here tonight. I'm sure he's happy about that with all his stars on the bench. But your first time as a head coach after you've waited until you're 61 years old, you want to win the game.
Mosher's punt, they're going to let it go. And it'll be with a flag down at about the 25-yard line.
During the kick, illegal block in the back, number 37 of the receiving team. That'll be a 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick. Be 1st down, Denver. Timeout.
Lyndon Stevens with the penalty. 9:56 left in the 4th. Well, happy to tell you that the Pete Rozelle Award winner is one Dick Ebersol, our boss from 2006 on, and there he was with Fred Gaudelli and Drew Esikoff. Brought John Madden to NBC back in 2006, put together a pretty good team. 8 years in a row, the #1 show on television. So good to see you, man. So good to see you.
Thank you, Al. Really appreciate it. I was thinking all these years now, 12 years, I haven't been here for almost half of those years. So the team you have here today is every bit as good as the team that started this whole thing. I think Mark Lazarus and Sam Flood have done an unbelievable job.
You put a pretty good blueprint together, you know, just in case you're wondering.
Well, I also had a great teacher in Pat Bolin, and that's this weekend when I get to talk about Pat a little bit tomorrow and stuff like that. I'll probably cry because I legitimately love the guy. And at one point in time, he was the only one who bought into the vision of what Sunday Night Football could be.
It really is amazing. But for the two of you, we're not sitting here. I mean, that was a plan. And Monday Night Football was all the rage, right?
Right.
And you guys had a strategy that if you got to Sunday night, and then it would create some flexibility with the schedules. And talk about the relationship between you two, because I know it goes way beyond football.
Well, first of all, everything with me is relationships.
That is a fact.
And in the case of Pat, he was a difficult guy initially to deal with. First of all, he couldn't believe that I came to meetings and negotiations by myself initially. I mean, I had a great #2 in Ken Shanzer, but I wasn't showing up with the president of the company or the president of the network, and somehow he thought that was really weird. And I said, well, I'll bring the boss to the next meeting, a big guy at the time. And after the meeting, he looked at me, he winked, he said, you coming by yourself in the future will work out just fine.
What was it that made you, you know, when people thought, well, Monday night was a standalone game and it was the standard bearer primetime game at that time, how come you didn't go after Monday night? And your idea was Sunday night.
Always Sunday night, because it's the most widely viewed night of the week. And so if you only get 25% of Sunday night, that's a hell of a lot more than 35% of Monday night. And good math there, but also I thought it would make it easier. And somebody in the league office had kind of tipped me off to this a little bit, that it would make it easier for the league to be able to have teams play that close together, because they'd have that extra day of rest.
Sure. What does the Rozelle Award mean to you right now?
It's interesting because I started off in this business as a guy named Roone Arledge's assistant, who was the head of ABC Sports, and I was his assistant, as I said. And what happened was, at the beginning of that relationship, there was something secretive going on, and Arledge, I finally discovered, I'm his assistant. I didn't know what he was doing. He was taking these secret meetings with Rozelle for what would turn out to be Monday Night Football. And he would meet in a room at the 21 Club, and he didn't want a lot of people to know what was going on. So he'd send back to the office, send a kid over with the paperwork and stuff like that. So I was running papers back and forth for that deal way back in the 60s.
You have to write a book about the history of sports television.
Oh, the history of it. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the Olympics yet. This is the guy that had the idea, forget negotiating for the next Olympics. We're going to go for the next 4 or 5 Olympics out there, and kept NBC in that business for generations.
There's one really neat story about all that, though, and that was that we've always had a guy, NBC's always had a guy who's handled their relationships with the Olympics in Europe. And he told me we were going to have this dinner with Juan Antonio Samaranch, this elegant Spaniard who was the head of the whole IOC. And he said, now don't be upset if an hour into the dinner he gets up and leaves, because he's got this clock in his head, and in an hour and 15 minutes, he's out of there. And I looked at this guy, Alex, and I said, Alex, I don't think that's going to be a problem. So they bring in Samaranch, they sit him down. And my whole life, I'd been an Olympic fan. I knew all these stories. And I just pumped him for more details of all these stories. And he got so caught up in telling these stories that suddenly it was 2.5 hours later, I was double the time he would usually allot for dinner. So if you want a good job in sports, go to the dinner well prepared.
Think about, well, 13 years ago, 2006 or 2019 now, 14 seasons. We were here. It was the first Sunday night telecast. We did this game with John Madden, who also goes into the Hall of Fame the next night. Here it was.
I believe that the busts talk to each other. When you go into the Hall of Fame, it's forever. I really believe that the busts have a personality, but they won't talk to each other if anyone else is in the room. If anyone comes in, boom, all conversation stops. The busts have to have a life forever.
What a day and what a night that was, huh?
How blessed could I be, though, to have been in football these years with you, with John, and with him. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then married to your boys, Freddie and Drew, the best producer and director of football who ever came down the pike.
I want you to talk about that relationship with John Madden, though, because after the accident, you and John, that relationship went way beyond football and boss and employee. He was really something special for you, wasn't he?
He still is now. I was sick this summer. He was on the phone every day. He's one of the most phenomenal people I've ever known in my life. I say that he's sort of a combination of the greatest uncle you could ever have, the best professor you could ever have, and one of the best just career guides you could ever have in the whole world. I mean, he has such a wonderful outlook about life, and he's never crazed to rush forward into anything. I just think the three of us and Drew and Freddie, I mean, we've been blessed to have that guy in our lives.
Well, he could have been in the Hall of Fame on 3 different levels. Coach, which he is. Broadcaster, he created the template,
right?
The Roselle Award, right?
Yep.
And one of the best-selling video games in the history of video games.
And
he's a real what people don't understand about John Madden, and you know as well as anybody, it wasn't just football. He was a Renaissance man. He was curious and interested in everything, and very well read.
Unbelievably curious about everything, and more importantly, he cares about other people. I mean, relationships are everything to him.
Meanwhile, there's Trey Johnson, Tony Dungy's neighbor down in Tampa, who makes the interception, creating the turnover. Dick, great to see you, man.
Thank you very much, Al.
Take care.
Chris, thank you.
Great Dick Ebersol. Back after this. Of course, while we're doing these interviews, sometimes a lot of stuff clearly is happening in the game, and we want to pay our respects to one Draymond Jones, who made 2 very big plays while we had Dick Ebersol in the booth. We'll show you those in a second. Meanwhile, the Broncos have it at the 38-yard line. Brett Rippon is the quarterback, and start with a 1-yard run here by David Williams.
Well, here we go. Draymond Jones out of Ohio State, 8.5 sacks a season ago for the Buckeyes, with plays exactly like this. He is that athletic, pass-rushing presence inside that they really hope they can find this season, because with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb on the outside, if they get that kind of interior pressure inside, you're going to see big plays from these defensive backs down the field.
A couple of defensive touchdowns last year for the Buckeyes for Jones. 2nd down and 9, and Rippon throws a little high, but it's hauled in for a short gain by Austin Ford. Rookie tight end, played his college ball at Wyoming.
Yeah, with all due respect to Draymond Jones, he didn't change my life the way Dick Ebersol did, so I was going to focus there, and we'll get back to Draymond Jones. But out of Cleveland, and he knows, right? He could be their Malik Jackson, the guy that gives that interior rush that could really make a difference for this team.
3rd down and 6, a little over 4 minutes left in regulation. Yes, they do play overtime in preseason, and here's a sack back at the 39-yard line. Jermaine Grace takes him down there, and it will be 4th down.
Well, it's so difficult, right, when you're down to this part of the game. And in many ways, this is kind of one of my favorite parts of the whole football season, because you have people out there like Grace who are just playing their guts out. They know that this is their one opportunity to impress, because as preseason goes along, they get to play less and less and less. So you see some of the greatest efforts you'll see all season long at this point in the game.
Sack took him out of field goal range. It would be a 56-yarder, so 4th and 10. They go for it. Rippon hangs in there, fires, and it's tipped incomplete. But a flag is down. What else is new? Rashad Quasi broke up the play.
Pass interference, number 32, defense. Automatic first down at the spot of the foul.
Indeed it is with 3:10 left. First down.
All right, Terry, go to work, baby.
All right, this is going to be up to Coach Quinn to decide, is it clear and obvious that his defender does not significantly hinder the receiver? From the shots I've seen, I don't see clear and obvious video evidence to prove that. This last shot, he's got an arm on the shoulder, probably would not have been reversed, and it doesn't look like he's going to challenge.
And he doesn't. It's a first down. They give the ball off to Muhammad. So interesting, Terry. Remember when they brought in replay in 1986, took it away for a while, brought it back. It was to correct the egregiously incorrect calls. Now you parse it frame by frame.
Well, and that's going to be one of the issues. Pass interference is the most highly subjective call in football. And on the field, you're looking at real time with the naked eye, and now you're going to judge it with slow motion HD replay, and it's going to make it a more technical standard, I think, down the road.
No doubt. 2nd down and 8 from the 22-yard line. Flips it out here to Muhammad, and he breaks free and takes it for a first down to the 11-yard line.
Dan Quinn has to be going crazy over that call. I mean, we used to call that really good defense. I mean, they did. I mean, it was like, you know, everybody was allowed to battle a little bit on the football field. I don't know.
But he's certainly got to have a comfort level that he's going to win it, and I don't think anybody's there yet.
I'm not saying he should have challenged or whatever.
Hey, it's preseason.
I don't think it's a foul. Let's leave it at that, Chris. There wasn't a lot of contact.
Meanwhile, 2-minute warning. We can tell you that 5 weeks from tonight, we will be in Soldier Field, where all of these calls will matter. Packers against the Bears to open up the 100th season of the National Football League. There's a little display they have made for us. Very nice here in Canton at the Hall of Fame. 5 weeks from tonight, big boy. On we go.
You know, that's really like the perfect game for the 100th year kickoff game for the season. I'm really looking forward to it.
And the first Sunday night game on Sunday night that week, 3 nights later, will be Pittsburgh at the world champion Patriots.
Yeah, that's a perfect game too.
That's a good game too. Yeah. And then looking ahead to week 2, we have the Philadelphia Eagles going down to Atlanta to play these Falcons.
I tell you, these Falcons are going to be young and new players on that offensive line, and they're going to open up against Minnesota's pass rushers and come back to Philadelphia's pass rushers.
First down from the 11-yard line. Rippon was 3 out of 7 for 20 yards, sends one into the end zone and broken up. Broken up by Jason Stanley. Trinity Benson, the intended receiver. 2nd down and 10.
Well, I feel fairly safe in saying that if you have a kidney stone that is still in there, you're probably going for it on any 4th down. So I think we're in 4-down territory here at the end of the Hall of Fame game. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I didn't think of that. I think you're right. I hope you're right. 2nd and 10 from the 11. Swinging to the outside. Devontae Jackson, he'll get thrust out of bounds by Jermaine Grace. That's going to make it 3rd down now.
Well, we have seen this Jermaine Grace sort of all over the field here. He has some of that quickness and speed on the defensive side that they just love. And I'm not going to compare him to Deion Jones, who's one of the great cover and speed guys, but he's that sort of style of player.
First-year player, played his college ball at Miami. So 3rd down, 10. 1:45 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, if they throw incomplete, he's probably going to have to kick the field goal here because they could make a defensive stand, right? Get the ball back and go win the game.
Yes. 3rd and 10. Pass over the middle is caught and taken to the 5-yard line by Mohammed. So now you've got a 4th down and 4.
Yeah, now you go for it.
So we talked about Dick Ebersol and the Rozelle Award, and we also want to acknowledge our buddy Sam Farmer, who won the Dick McCann Award, which is the equivalent on the writer's side of the Rozelle Award. Known Sam for many, many years. Los Angeles Times, terrific writer, always gets things right, broken a ton of stories, and he'll join that crew up on that wall here. Sam Farmer, congratulations to one of the really, really good guys in the business.
Yeah, probably one of the most fair guys in the business.
Very.
Too. Yeah.
So 4th and 4, indeed, you're right. They're going to go for it from the 6-yard line. Rippon surveys, throws, caught, and does he get in? There's a flag down, and they say he didn't get in to begin with. Meanwhile, he's taking a picture. You got Kelvin McKnight. You got an official coming in saying you don't get in. You got a flag down, and they're taking pictures.
Holding number 63 offense. There's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still 4th down. The ruling on the field, the ball was caught at the half-yard line, which would have been enough for a 1st down.
Walt Anderson says, give me that negative back.
Here we go.
The center, that's Ryan Crozier.
Jermaine Grace in on the mix again. It was hard to see from that angle whether or not he was grabbing. The officials behind probably had a great angle.
All right, so it's 4th and 14 now. You can't get a 1st down without getting the touchdown. And Rippon to the end zone again, and it's going to be deflected and caught for the touchdown. Juwan Winfrey, 6th-round rookie, played his college ball at Colorado on a deflected pass, comes down with it to give them the lead with 1:26 to play.
Spectacular play by Winfrey to go up, but stay focused on the ball. The key to it was he was able to stay on his feet while he was battling for the football, and first guy down on the ground and settled and find the football. There it was. That was the difference. Winfrey had so many injuries in college. He went all the way back to the 6th round, but they think he could really be a special player. Pretty good way to start.
Makes the catch, gets toes down on both feet. Extra point is good, and Denver leads 14-10. Brett Rippon, the rookie out of Boise State, to the rookie out of Colorado for the score.
Yeah, and give Rippon some credit because he understood at that situation you have to give your guy a chance. Let's get it up high, and that is a heads-up football play, and you got to love it. I mean, for Winfrey, who knows what his moments will be. For Rippon, who knows what his future moments will be, but they will remember what they hope is the game winner for a long time.
Now you can take that picture.
There you go.
Flacco on the sideline, enjoying the moment for the rookie. And you've got, Kevin Hogan. We saw him. Drew Lock obviously figures to make the team as the number 2 draft choice. Do you keep 2? Do you keep 3? What chance does Rippon have? Does he wind up with somebody else? To be determined.
But it's Sunday night, so we know the game's going to come down the last couple of minutes. Here we go.
It's Thursday night, though. But it's what, Sunday night on Thursday. But okay.
I used to work on Thursday night.
That's we all did.
Now we get to see what Vic Fangio can do with his 5th-string defense.
against the fourth-string Atlanta offense.
False start, number 89, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
It's on Alex Gray. So, well, kind of a typical early preseason game. You had 11 accepted penalties on Atlanta for 93 yards and 8 accepted on Denver for a total of 89 yards. Bradley Chubb. You saw Von Miller and Chubb, and those two guys will kill you from the outside. Chubb fires. That's caught up at the 30-yard line, a couple of yards shy of a first down by Christian Blake.
Look at all those players, though, on the Denver sideline over here and the Atlanta sideline. They're into this. I mean, this is winning and losing. This is football.
Down to 59 seconds and another flag here for a false start. This will be penalty number 12 against the Falcons tonight.
I wonder if those guys in the huddle with Matt Schaub walked up to him on the street, how many of them he would know.
Hello, my name is.
That's what it is at this point in training camp.
False start, number 75, offense. That's a 5-yard penalty. It will still be second down. And by rule, with the clock running inside of 2 minutes, this will also be a 10-second runoff. The foul occurred with 1:01 on the game clock. 1:01 was on the game clock. Please reset the game clock to 51 seconds.
Okay.
And the clock will start on the whistle.
It's parsing it to the nth degree, but he got it right.
I think they're saying he had a chance to take the timeout, right?
He wanted to. He wanted to take the timeout, but they only have one.
Correction. The penalty is still enforced. Atlanta has elected to use their third and final timeout to avoid the 10-second runoff. The foul occurred with 1:01 on the clock. Please reset the game clock to 1:01. And the clock will start on the snap.
You bet. Well, we can tell you the NFL celebrates youth and high school football year-round through Play Football, an initiative aimed at creating positive experience for all participants by engaging coaches, parents, players with the goal of preserving and promoting the values of the game. To learn more, find a league near you. Visit playfootball.com. So Atlanta out of timeouts. It's second down and 8 now from the 25-yard line. And what do you know? A false start.
False start, number 46. That's a 5-yard penalty. Still second down. There is no 10-second runoff because the clock was not running.
I feel like we've been through the entire rule book in the last 2 minutes.
I feel like I'm watching somebody moonwalk.
Second and 13 from the 20-yard line. Shot throws, and that's incomplete. Nearly picked on the deflection intended there for Graham. DeMonte Thomas covering, and it's third down and 13.
I just can't help but think what Matt Schaub's thinking a little bit. Maybe Julio's laughing about this too. He's out there. He was all nice and comfortable on the sideline. They had somebody who's going to finish the game for him. 38, you got to get warmed up again, and here he is in a game-winning situation with guys he really has no idea who they are or what they're doing.
Probably had a full meal at halftime. I think his arm got hit on that throw that time by Draymond Jones, doing it again. Bursting through, to be fourth down and 13.
Yeah, watch this double arm swat here by Draymond Jones to get around the guard. Watching both arms swat, get him off, and just basically a straight line right into Matt Schaub.
That guy's had a nice night. Could have been roughing the passer too. Terry, what do you think?
Yeah, that's forcible contact to the knee area or below. That should have been a foul for roughing the passer.
Fourth and 13 now. The pass is hauled in,
1 foot,
but out of bounds. Out of bounds.
It's a great catch.
Olamide Zacchaeus, the rookie out of Virginia. No, pretty clear.
Guess who it was? Trey Johnson.
Yeah.
Remember, there is no force out anymore. So if as a defender you can make that hit and get him out of bounds, that is that.
Trey Johnson's had a nice game too. As Denver takes over at the 20, and a couple of kneel downs will end it. So we will see you next from Tennessee. We're doing the Steelers and the Titans at the end of August, and then opening night is 5 weeks from tonight. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle DeFoya, Terry McCauley getting a lot of airtime tonight. Our entire gang, Fred Godelli, Drew Esikoff at the controls as we begin another season of Sunday Night Football on this Thursday night. 14-10 Denver. Good night from Canton.